What's up, guys? My name is Alan, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to change the front wheel bearing on an Infiniti M35x. Mine in particular is a 2006. I already did the driver's side, so I thought I would show you guys on the passenger side how to do it. I completed a couple steps already, so I'm just going to fill you guys in with what I've done. So first thing I did was I took off the lug nuts off of the tire. I just broke them loose, and then I jacked it up, as you can see right there. And then I finished taking off the lug nuts. Then after that, I took out the center vanity plate. I honestly can't find where I put it right now, but they just have this little ring in there. You just pop that loose, and then you push in the tabs to take that out, because we need that out so that when we have to take off the axle nut, there's nothing in the way. I also sprayed a little bit of WD-40 on the axle nut. So yeah, that's about all I've done so far. Oh, I've also taken out the cotter pin that keeps the axle nut from sliding off. So as you can see right there, this hole right there, there is a cotter pin that goes through there. So you're just going to want to take some pliers and rip that out of there. I'll show you what the cotter pin looks like. It's just this little guy right there. So you're going to want to take that out so that the axle nut can come off of there when it comes time. So yeah, next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the tire back on the wheel now, because you basically need a tire on there so that when it comes time to loosen the axle nut, so that the whole unit isn't spinning. You want the friction from the tire on the ground to be there, so you can break that axle nut loose. Alright guys, so here's the tire. I only put 3 lug nuts on. It's kind of hard to tell what's lug nut, what's a stud in there, but yeah, I only threw 3 on there, and then I dropped the car off the jack, just lowered it down. So basically now the tire is sitting on the ground, so we've got some friction there. And as you can see, the vanity cap, which I found, or this little thing, so that's out of there, so that we can access the axle nut, which is right there. So for the axle nut, you're going to want a 32 millimeter socket. It's gonna have to be deep well. They also make axle nut sockets, and you can also rent them from, I'm pretty sure you can rent them from any of your local auto parts store. I think this was like 10 or 12 bucks, so it wasn't horribly expensive, but yeah, you can always rent them for free. And you're also gonna want a breaker bar or an impact. I don't have an impact, so I'm gonna be using this 1/2-inch drive breaker bar. And I don't have anyone to record for me, and I'm definitely going to need 2 hands for this. So I'm just going to break that loose. The other one wasn't too bad, so hopefully this one cooperates. So I'll be back in a second. I got the axle nut off. It was actually pretty easy. I think you might even be able to get away with just like a 1/2-inch drive ratchet on it, with like maybe like a bit of a cheater bar at the end. So you might not even need like a breaker bar. But yeah, I broke it loose and turned it a few rotations. So next I'm just going to take off the 3 lug nuts, raise it up, throw a jack stand under there. It also doesn't hurt to put some WD-40 on the axle nut before you take it off. Maybe that helps to make it a little bit easier. Can't talk. So yeah, I'm just going to take off the wheel, jack it up, throw a jack stand under the one side, and yeah, guys. So I got the tire off, and I got the car jacked up with the jack stand under there. You also want to make sure you got your e-brake on. I forgot to mention that earlier. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use a 7/8 socket. I just used a normal one. A deep well one might work a little bit better, but I didn't have one. There's also, I'm sure that, because this should all be metric, so I'm sure that there's probably a metric size that fits that, but I use 7/8 on both the drivers and passengers, and it worked fine. I think that might be, I don't know, maybe like a 21 or 22 millimeter, so you can try that. But like I said, 7/8 work for me. So there are basically 2 bolts that you're going to want, because the next step is to get off this this caliper. So there are going to be 2 bolts that you want to remove, and I just broke them loose just a second ago. So here's the first one, this guy right there, and these are actually pretty tough to break loose. And the second one is right down there. Let me point to it. This guy right there. And yeah, those are basically just the only 2 holding the caliper on. And you're also going to want to have some zip ties handy for when you take these off, because you're going to want to suspend your caliper somewhere, hold it up against something so that you don't rip out your brake lines, or else that'll be a mess. So yeah, I'm just gonna loosen those all the way out. And I used a bit of a cheater bar on it. So I used, like I said, that 7/8 socket on a 3/8 ratchet, but I actually had to use this little red bar. So basically, sorry, I just basically put the red bar on the end to give me more leverage, and I actually went, I had it under the car. I'm trying to see if you guys can see. I basically had it under the car like this, and then I just put my foot on the very end of it down there, and basically got under the car over there and kicked it to break it loose, because it's in the wheel well, you kind of got limited range of motion, so it's hard to get a good some good leverage on it. So that's what worked for me. Maybe spray it with some WD-40. But yeah, I'll be back, and I'll have those 2 bolts out, and I'll hopefully have the caliper suspended and show you guys what it looks like. Guys, so I got those 2 bolts out right there, as you can see right there, and I also unscrewed the rest of the axle nut. And then the next thing you got to do is you got to compress the brakes, because right now it's basically clamped to the rotor. So what you have to do is you have to compress it. You have to compress it so that'll basically release off the rotor. I know it sounds confusing. I'm using just a giant C-clamp that I have. You can also do it with a tire iron if you have it. Basically, you're just trying to push the brake pad in. So yeah, you might have to get creative on this one. So I'm going to do that next, and then I'm going to suspend the caliper from somewhere up there with some zip ties. So I'll be right back. So I just tightened up the C-clamp here, and you also want to make sure that you go slow, so that you don't pop any brake lines. So as you can see, I'm trying to get some good lighting on it. Okay, so as you can see, here's the caliper, and then back here is the brake pad. This lighting sucks. Back there's the brake pad. There you go. And as you can see, there's a gap between the 2 now, so that's what you want. You want to basically give yourself just a little bit of room so that when we loosen the C-clamp, we can remove the caliper. Guys, so I've got the brake caliper suspended up there, like I said. Basically, just got it going through this little hole there. And yeah, you really want it out of the way, because you're gonna have to. The next step is basically to get 4 bolts out. It's super difficult to see in this lighting. Okay, this, that, and basically all these are will hold the will hold your wheel bearing on. So basically you got those 2, and then also identically on the bottom down here, you've got 2 down there. Mine were pretty rusted on, so I hit the end of these with some WD-40, and I just broke them loose. I almost stripped a bolt doing it, so be super careful. You're probably gonna, for the bottom ones, I was able to just use a 3/8 ratchet with a 17mm, and then on the top I had to use this, I don't know what that is, maybe like a 3-inch extension. But yeah, they're basically just right in the back there. You just loosen those up, and yeah, so it's gonna take some finagling, but yeah, just don't strip a bolt. Alright, I got those 4 bolts out that were holding the wheel bearing. Yeah, they were pretty difficult. Also, another thing is if the boot that's on the axle is giving you trouble, like getting in your way, You can actually push in the spline end of the axle here, and I was able to just push it in with my hand. If not, you can always use a hammer, but you'll probably want to put something on the end of here, like a block of wood or like a partially screwed on nut, just so that you don't destroy these threads. So the next order of business is to get this wheel bearing flange side off. So basically what I'm gonna have to do is, you gotta stick something in between this, like this brake dust shield plate thing and the wheel bearing assembly. So you gotta stick something in between there just to like break that seal off. I'm probably gonna be using like a hammer and a crowbar, or maybe like a flathead screwdriver. So get creative with it. I just want to give you guys an update on me getting this old wheel bearing off. So basically what you are going for is, you're trying to, so these were all pressed together at one point, and you're basically just trying to get something in between there all the way around, to just pop this thing loose. What I'm using is, I'm basically using this like chisel thing and putting it in there and then hitting with a hammer. I'm doing the same thing from the bottom side. You want to sort of try to get it all you know, as even as possible around the whole thing, but I'm gonna keep going at it. So as you can see, just about got this thing off now. It's important to remember the orientation of this dust shield, because you can put it on, you don't want to put it on either the wrong way, like rotated, and you also don't want to put it on backwards, else you'll get like rubbing noise. So yeah, this thing's pretty loose now. Probably only a couple more hits and it'll come off. Okay, so I got the old wheel bearing off. So this is what you're left with. So you got your axle just sitting here loosely. There's also this ring here. It's just basically a ring with a slit for your ABS sensor to go through. So it's important that when I'm putting on the new wheel bearing, that ABS sensor lines up with the hole on the side of there. So there is a upside down way that you can put this on. So this right here is the correct way, because as you can see, that hole for the ABS sensor is right there on the left. If I were to put it on the upside down way, as you can see, that hole, which is right there, is at the very top, which is not where the ABS sensor is. So we're going to want to put it on this way. So yeah, pretty much just follow all the steps that we just did, but do it backwards, and you should be good to go. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any other suggestions on how to do stuff on the Infiniti M35, let me know, and maybe I'll do a video on it.